Hey there folks, Scottsdale Travel Chick's sidekick here to give you our quick guide on how to do the world famous cliff walk in Newport, Rhode Island. In this video, we'll tell you everything you need to know about doing the cliff walk. We'll start with a bit of background on Newport and the walk itself. We'll talk about where to park and how to do the walk and how to get back. And we'll talk about what you'll see along the way and some interesting fun facts. If you'd like a more general overview on Newport and ideas on how to have a great weekend trip, then also check out our other Newport related video by searching Weekend Travel Guide to Newport, Scottsdale Travel Chick. Okay, back to the cliff walk. Let's start with a little bit of background on Newport and the walk itself. Newport is a small beachside town on Aquaneck Island. It's about 30 miles south of Providence, Rhode Island, and 180 miles northeast of New York City. The town is tiny with a full-time population of only about 30,000, but it's a big summertime destination when it swells with tourists on vacation. One of the top things for tourists to do is the world-famous cliff walk. The cliff walk started off as a simple path back in Native American times. The development of a more official cliff walk began around 1880. Bit by bit, the walk continued to evolve over the decades until in 1975 it was designated a National Recreation Trail by the National Park Service and U.S. Forest Service. Today, the public access walkway supports more than 200,000 active visitors each year. The walk hugs the coast for 3.5 miles directly behind many of Newport's most famous mansions. The full one-way hike will take you about 2.5 hours, and there's a local trolley system that can help get you around from one side to the other. Some of the walk is smooth and paved, while some of it is rocky and uneven, so be prepared with good shoes if you intend to walk most or all of the path. Another interesting point about the hike is that you will certainly see a few of the great Gilded Era mansions, but many of the houses along the path are actually obscured by high fences and/or vegetation. That's done on purpose by some of the homeowners, just so you know. Now let's get down to business. We recommend you take the walk from north to south. Many people start from Memorial Boulevard, but there's not much to see over the first half mile or so. So our pro tip is to actually start the hike from Narragansett Ave. This trick allows you two benefits. It shortens the overall hike to just over 2 miles. It makes it less than 2-hour hike. And you'll park in an area where the local trolley system can easily return you right back to your car. More on that later. Next, let's talk parking. Yes, it's a pain everywhere in Newport. So try to get going early and find a space closer down Narragansett Ave. There's a pay station at the end of the road. Buy yourself a ticket at the kiosk, place it on your dash, and now you're ready to do the world-famous Newport Cliff Walk. In this section, we'll walk you through the walk, step by step and site by site. The very first thing you'll come to at the bottom of Narragansett Ave is 40 steps and the overlook. The steps were originally built by the local landowner, and the area quickly became the spot for servants who used to work at the mansions nearby to meet on weekends and enjoy each other's company. Close by, there's also an elevated overlook out over the bay. Next up is the campus of Regina University. It contains a number of original mansions that were either gifted or bought over the years. Perhaps the most famous of their buildings is Orchard Court. It's second only to the Breakers in overall size. It was built in 1892 for New York real estate developer Robert Goelet III. It was noted back in the day the servant total to operate the mansion was 27 servants, 8 coachmen, and 12 gardeners. That's 47 people. Wow, huh? Vinland Estate is another mansion now part of the university and called Macaulay Hall today. It was originally built in 1882 for a tobacco heiress. As you round this point on the coast, you'll next come to the Breakers. It's the most popular of all the mansions in Newport. The Breakers was originally owned by Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of the richest men in the world at the time, and is the largest mansion in Newport at over 125,000 square feet. This mansion is also the site of the Newport Preservation Society's Welcome Center, where you can stop and get information about all the mansions they support, perhaps making your mansion visitation plans a bit later easier. It's $26 per person to visit this mansion.
All right, so you can walk along this cliff walk, and they have this great viewing point here. And turn around so you can see this beautiful home.
What is it? What is it? What's it called?
This is called the Breakers.
Anglesey is next, and it's a 19th century Gothic revival home originally built in 1880. But there's not much to see from the trail, unfortunately. After Anglesey, the path becomes more rough and uneven, so be careful. Okay, this part of the walk is a little more uneven, and I guess that's an understatement, huh? This is also one of the great places to just take a break and enjoy the coast and the views. One of our favorite sounds is listening to the waves roll the beach rocks back and forth. Soothing, isn't it? And here's another pro tip too. Keep your eye out for 16 small QR stations along the hike where you can use your phone to scan a QR code and learn more about that particular site. Continuing along, you'll next come to Rosecliff. Rosecliff was completed in 1902 and modeled after a famous mansion in Versailles. Back in the day, this mansion was a setting for many of Newport's most lavish parties. More recently, it's famous for the many movie cameos it's had in such movies as The Great Gatsby, Amistad, High Society, and True Lies. $18 a person to visit. Next up is Marble House. It was built in 1892 for another Vanderbilt, and it's called the Marble House because it's actually built entirely of marble, over 500,000 cubic feet of it, and the interior is breathtaking. A Chinese tea house was added later and famously used by Mrs. Vanderbilt for fundraisers supporting the women's right movement. $18 a person to visit. Next, you'll make your way through a small tunnel at Sheep's Point and continue down the coast. But this is roughly the halfway point, so we thought it was a good place for us to take the drone up and see where we've gone so far. The big mansion you see at the top is the Breakers, and in front of that is Anglesey. Then there are a few more mansions, big and small. And the white one you see here is Rosecliff. And Beechwood, which I haven't talked about, is seen here under renovations. And then finally, we get to Marble House and its Chinese tea house right on the cliff. How you doing, babe? How you enjoying things so far?
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Having a good time?
So fun, yes. So fun.
Are you up for all the walking?
I am.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Let's go.
After Sheep's Point Tunnel, you'll proceed another mile or so over some rough terrain, eventually passing 3 more mansions, Rough Point, Landzen, and the Waves. The first mansion you'll come to will be Rough Point, another mansion owned by another Vanderbilt, This one built in the style of a Gothic English manor. It was last owned by Doris Duke, who died in 1993, and the feeling of this mansion is unique, as there's both a grandeur and a hominess to it, as it was left largely as when Doris Duke lived there. Moving further along the rocky coastline, you'll next come to Landzen, originally finished in 1900 and remodeled since and privately owned today. It was owned by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Edith Wharton, and tax records show it was recently sold in 2020 for $8.6 million. Next up is more walking along the coast until you finally come to the Waves Mansion. The Waves was designed and built in 1927 by the famous architect John Russell Pope on the ruins of a prior mansion which burnt down. This is where we'll recommend you finish your hike and catch the trolley back to your car, but you can walk a bit further to Bailey's Beach. There are no more mansions along this part of the trail, but there's more beautiful coastline to take in, and you'll finish at Bailey's Beach. As we did with the first part of the hike, here's another drone shot moving south over the last mile or so of trail as you pass by the last three mansions. Rough Point, then Land's End, then the Waves at the very tip of the island in the distance. Finishing at the Waves, you simply walk up Ledge Road about 200 yards, hang a right, and wait at the trolley stop for the next trolleys. Trolleys come every 20 minutes or so and take cash only, $2 exact change per person. The ride back will take you about 10 minutes and travels along Bellevue Avenue, where you can get another perspective on these beautiful mansions as you ride along. Well, there you have it, our guide to everything you need to know about doing Newport's famous cliff walk. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, see you later.